Ready or not, here we come, getting down on the one which we believe in. Can I get it on my good foot? Good God. Oh, come on, get down one time. Hey, don't tell me now. You more of what you're fucking for. Hey, don't tell me now. Do you promise the funk? The whole funk, nothing but the funk. Ready or not, here we come, getting down on the one which we believe in.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Islam, everyone, and welcome to our Wednesday night open forum. This is the United States of America Republic, and today is December 28th in the year 2016, just a couple more days left. And we have our guest speaker, President C. Cannon Bey, who is going to present to us information. I am your moderator, Kelowna. We're making history. If we could just grasp that concept, that's huge. So today's speak is going to be on allegiance. President Cannon Bey is prepared to speak with us, and so we shall have him take the floor, and then we shall mute out everyone when he's ready to speak, and then bring you back in for questions. Islam, President Cannon Bey, you have the floor. Good.
Okay. I decided to talk about this, and I want everybody on the call to know that this is really more science that you learned that I'm going to teach y'all right now, and that we're going to go over. Okay. I think it's very important that our people and everybody that come into our government, that it stressed to them the importance of what it means when they take their state oath, that they're actually pledging their life and their property. We pledging it to each other and to our God. So we really have to get an understanding of what the oath is that we're taking, so that we can begin to operate properly and to have the unity that we need to overcome the things we're going through in the society right now, and we'll be able to stand forever as a solid nation of people with a solid foundation. God is a legal and just God. Throughout time, he has worked to establish covenant in the earth. And history teaches us that he is always faithful to honor even those covenants we make with others. When we willfully enter into covenant, vows, allegiances, and alliances, we become bound by them and tied to those relationships or even entities. Even though God is supreme and sovereign, he will never violate the free will and power of choice, which he gave man. Therefore, when we enter into covenant, vows, allegiances, and alliances, whether for our good or our bad, God will always honor them. When we invite God into the arena of our lives to do something on our behalf, he is looking to see what contract agreements are in place, because these will determine the extent to which he can involve himself in our affairs. Covenants, vows, allegiances, and alliances constitute legal agreements between two or more parties. These kinds of agreements establish many factors and boundaries against which God cannot and will not assert his will until such time as we decide to renounce them and terminate the agreement. God is a legal God, and he is limited in his ability to move in our lives based on agreements we have made. power of agreement and alignment. In this section, I want to deal with 4 very powerful words, all of which affect our ability to walk out our destiny. They are allegiance, alliance, agreement, alignment. Again, I say to you that if 2 of you agree on earth about anything that they may ask, it shall be done for them by my Father who is in heaven. Matthew 18:19. The underlying principle of the power of agreement is when 2 people agree on anything in the earthly realm, God is bound to honor it. This principle can also be applied to ungodly or unhealthy soul ties. If 2 people are walking in agreement outside of the bounds of the perfect will of God, it is still agreement, and it is still a binding contract. Now I exhort you, brethren, by the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that you all agree, and that there be many divisions among you, but that you be made complete in the same mind and in the same judgment. 1 Corinthians 1. With 2 parties enter into a binding agreement, there is a unification that is constituted, causing those parties, according to this scripture, to become completely one, having the same mind and judgment. In other words, their thoughts, their discernment or lack thereof, their sense of judgment, their ability to process ideas and problems, and their decision-making ability, they all become as one. Therefore, while I am trying to function with wisdom and understanding relating to the various aspects of my life, my business, my ministry, I find myself being limited to the mindset, thoughts, and judgments of the parties with which I have entered into an agreement. And principle then, when we align ourselves with the wrong people, the wrong group, the wrong businesses, wrong institutions, we become unduly influenced by the decision. I am only able to succeed to the degree that the entity or person I am in agreement with succeeds. Their limitation becomes my limitation. Decisions and beliefs of those parties, in other words, when we walk in agreement with someone, our thinking and how we process things in our own world is being affected by, if not controlled by, a spiritual force working in and through someone or something outside of ourselves. An example of this that is very common in our world today is the game culture. Young men and women who, for various reasons, struggle with their own identity and self-worth are many times drawn into this community called a game. One of the steps involved in becoming a part of a game family is the process of pledging one's allegiance to the game and its objectives and mission. It is required that the prospective game member, in essence, pledge or sell their soul. That is, their independent intellect, thoughts, beliefs, values, culture, will, and emotions into subservient to the thoughts, beliefs, values, and culture of the game. This kind of agreement constitutes a legitimate soul tie. Many times these children come from middle to upper class families, being afforded all the advantages and opportunities for a normal and successful life. But over time, their own individual identity is absorbed or assimilated into the context and identity of the group with which the soul tie exists, producing a false sense of loyalty and security. Their life begins to mirror the chaos. Be careful who and what you align yourself with. It shapes and affects every area of your life. Confusion, anger, and destructive patterns that the corporate thieves that the corporate thrives on. The same holds true of any allegiance, alliance, or vow we make in our lives, be it personal, business, church, or any other arena. Once we have joined ourselves to the arrangement by way of a contract or covenant, we begin to feel and experience the effects of that relationship on an altogether different level. It is critically important then to know and fully understand the environment and characteristics of anything or anyone with which we are considering entering into a covenant, vow, allegiance, or alliance. Be careful who and what you align yourself with. It shapes and affects every arena of your life. By definition, an alliance is a treaty or covenant formed between individuals, groups, nations, or a business, which is designed to be morally beneficial to all parties involved. In biblical times, a covenant or alliance was sealed by the blood of a sacrificial victim. The animal being sacrificed was cut into two pieces, causing the blood to be spilled out onto the ground between the pieces. Then, in a powerful and holy ceremony, the person contracting the alliance or covenant will walk between the symbolizing the two becoming one. In Genesis 15:10. In some instances, there were alliances formed called covenants of salt. Numbers 18:19 and 2. Chronicles 13 and 5. Salt being the symbol of perpetuity. Throughout their entire history, the Jewish people attached great importance to fidelity to those covenants and held them to be of tremendous importance and significance to their lives and futures. Let's continue now by looking at another aspect of the power of agreement. Ox or ass. Thou shalt not plow with an ox and an ass together. Deuteronomy 22:10. This is a very powerful principle. It is apparent that God is showing us something here that has to do with an incompatible or unholy alignment. We know that when determining who you can walk with, the Bible instructs us to not be unequally yoked together. You cannot yoke up with someone who will ultimately work against you. An ox is a serving animal with a sacrificial nature. It is willing to work, to be teachable, to submit to authority and counsel. An ass, on the other hand, has a rebellious, stubborn, and contrary nature. It is constantly fighting, rebelling, pulling against, disagreeing, and wearing you out. So many times in our lives, we enter into agreements or contracts with people whose nature is contrary to ours, and even to God's plan and purpose. They are obdurate and stubborn, refusing to work with God or work with you. When we, as believers, are living as sons of God and working to have our lives aligned with God's plan and purpose for our lives, we cannot afford to be aligned with or walking in covenant with someone with an ass spirit. We cannot afford to be in constant turmoil and struggle, fighting against something that is unwilling to move in the direction God desires to lead us. In business, we cannot afford to partner with or work with people whose values and morals are contrary to our own. We cannot allow ourselves to be enticed into hanging out with people who are bitter, angry, dishonest, and cruel. This is a hopeless scenario. The ox and the ass cannot work together. It is counterproductive. It is a dangerous arrangement, one which someone will always be hurt in the end. When we align ourselves with someone or something that is not walking in the same direction as we are, we create the very mechanism that will impede us from ever reaching where it is we are trying to go. Vows. Vows, like covenants, allegiances, and alliances, are binding agreements. They're binding in the spirit as well as in the natural. Vows can be made concerning people, entities, organizations, institutions, or things. You can even make a vow to yourself. Inner vows can be just as powerful in your life as vows made concerning others. They cause you to have resolve, either in a positive way or in a negative way. Relationships. Growing up, you may have had trouble, hurt, and pain that you experienced as a child or a teenager. Have had said to yourself, I will never be like that again, or I never let myself to be hurt like that again. Maybe you said, I will never let anybody get close to me ever again. You made an inner vow that created a soul tie to a spiritual dimension that is causing you all kinds of grief right now. Today, wonder why you have such difficulty receiving love, establishing or maintaining friendships or relationships. In the soulish realm, you have blocked off that part of you in order to defend your emotions. You have created a soul tie to a thought that again has you locked into a particular level of success. Church experiences, if you have ever been wounded by religion or religious people, you may have made a vow that you would never, ever give your heart and soul to another church again. I will never trust another pastor again. Maybe you vowed never to be involved in ministry again because of the hurt you experienced. The consequences of that vow will continue producing detrimental and destructive fruit in your life. And because of this, you can never fully engage in what God has for you, regardless of the anointing and integrity on a man of God's life under whose ministry you may be sitting today. That vow you made will keep you from receiving the message of life He brings. What if you were diagnosed with a life-threatening disease or sickness? The first thing we know to do, especially as believers, is to call for the pastor or the elders of the church to pray and believe with us. If ever you needed to trust the man of God to believe God with you, now would be the time. They can pray, but that vow you made, if not dealt with and broken, will still be operating in your life and will keep you from receiving the complete and total healing and wholeness Jesus already paid the price for. Marriage vows are declarations of commitment and dedication between a man and a woman. God established the institution of marriage, and He is a God of covenant. If you are married, you need to understand that you have made a covenantal vow before God and before man. That vow of marriage makes you one with your spouse. Concerning divorce, God takes it very seriously because it involves breaking a vow and a covenant. Even though you were divorced before you got saved or went through a divorce after being saved, must deal with the soul ties resulting from those covenants or vows made with your previous spouse. It is then imperative that you identify with what or with whom am I aligned. Have I yoked myself by agreement to a person, entity that is not traveling in the same direction my destiny? What covenants, vows, allegiances, alliances, agreements, or alignments have I made, possibly years ago, that are still pulling on me? Have I made any inner vows that I need to repent of? The power of a voice. In Genesis chapter 1, God showed us the creative power words when he said, let there be light, and light was. God, Genesis. Scripture, Genesis 1:3. Scripture is jam-packed with examples of the Creator's power of words. Not only are words creative, but they also are life-giving. Words created the first life in the first of God's creatures, and also spoke new life into things that were dead. Consider this. So they removed the stone. Then Jesus raised his eyes and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me. But because of the people standing around, I said it, so that they may believe that you sent me. When he had said these things, he cried out with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. The man who had died came forth, bound hand and foot with wrappings, and his face was wrapped around with a cloth. Jesus said to them, unbind him and let him go. John 11:41-44. In this passage, Jesus standing at the opening of the tomb of his close friend, called for Lazarus to come forth. And out came Lazarus, walking, still bound in grave clothes. By the power of his spoken word, Jesus broke the bond of death that was keeping Lazarus in the tomb. But just as Jesus used his voice to speak life, he also used it to curse and to speak death. Now in the morning, when he was returning to the city, he became hungry. Seeing a long fig tree by the road, he came to it and found nothing on it except leaves only. And he said to it, no longer shall there ever be any fruit from you. And at once the fig tree withered. Seeing this, the disciples were amazed and asked, how did the fig tree wither all at once? Matthew 21:18-20. Just as Lazarus' body responded to the life-giving power of Jesus' word, the fig tree responded to their negative life-zapping power. Covenants, vows, allegiances, alliances, agreements, and alignments constitute powerful and influential societies that are formed through words. Spoken words of agreement, allegiance or alliance have all the validity and strength as do written contracts. Do not be lax in this area. It is too vital for your continued healing and restoration to be taken lightly. Who are you listening to? It may be so many kinds of voices in the world, and no kind is without signification. 1 Corinthians 14:10. Throughout the course of your life, there are constantly going to be voices speaking to you, vying for your attention, and drawing on you for a response. There will be those who always feel the need to add their 2 cents worth to your life. People are always going to be asking you to come over here, do this with me, hook up with me, partner with me, or hang out with me. Although all voices have significance, not all of them are ones you should connect with. If you are a business person called by God to build, to prosper, you will always have opportunities, voices presenting themselves to you. It is so important to distinguish between these voices While every voice has significance, not every voice is the voice of God leading you to embrace opportunity. Consider the scripture. But he who enters by the door is a shepherd of the sheep. To him the doorkeeper opens, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name, and leads them out when he puts forth all his own. He goes ahead of them, and the sheep follow him because they know his voice. A stranger they simply will not follow, but will flee from him because they do not know the voice of strangers. John 10:2-5. There are some voices that will lead you astray. They are forces at work in this world that desire to move you far away from the path God has called you to walk. These voices work with intent and diligence to distract and to discourage you. You must learn to discern the difference between those voices that will hinder you and those voices that will help you as you aspire to move into the destiny God has determined for you. The Bible says, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. John 10:27. Today, are you following God's voice in your life, or are you still following after an old voice? The binding power of your voice. Your voice is as powerful as any voice in the earth. When you begin to hear what God has said about you, and you begin to say what he is saying, you enter into agreement with him. When you and God agree, everything is possible. With the fruit of a man's mouth, his stomach will be satisfied. He will be satisfied with the product of his lips. Proverbs 18:20. What you say determines the fruit that you produce. When you join an agreement or make a covenant with someone or something, or make a vow about yourself, someone else, or something, you are going to produce fruit according to the word. If you don't like the fruit you see in your life, don't complain about it. Go back and analyze what has been coming out of your mouth. Your voice is powerful, and your words are binding. Many times believers start fussing at God because things aren't turning out the way we think they should. We need to realize that somewhere along the way, we may have vocally come into agreement with the wrong voice or said something that has put some things in motion in our life that are producing negative fruit. Remember, the fruit produced in your life is a direct result of what proceeds from your mouth. Take heed from Scripture, and do not make the mistake of underestimating the power of your word. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Proverbs 18:21. This scripture could not be any more straightforward. Voice is a powerful and creative force in your life, and in lives of those around you. Powerful and creative force in your life and lives of the voice and lives of those around you. I don't know why I keep saying live. And lives of those around you. Covenants, vows, allegiances, alliances are formulated and ratified by the things we speak. In fact, some covenants and vows can be formed even without you realizing it. Think before you. Consequences of violating covenants. The Bible tells us that when we have made covenants, vows, allegiances, and alliances, and we try to move in a direction that is contrary to those, there is a heavy price to pay. The sons of Israel did not strike them because the leaders of the congregation had sworn to them by the Lord, the God of Israel, and the whole congregation grumbled against the leaders. Joshua 9:18. Now there was a famine in the days of David for 3 years, year after year, and David sought the presence of the Lord. And the Lord said, it is for Saul and his bloody house, because he put the Gibeonites to death. So the king called the Gibeonites and spoke to them. Now the Gibeonites were not of the sons of Israel, but of the remnant of the Amorites. And the sons of Israel made a covenant with them. But Saul had sought to kill them in his zeal for the sons of Israel and Judah. 2 Samuel 21:1-2. As I live, declares the Lord God, surely in the country of the king who put him on the throne, whose oath he despised, and whose covenant he broke, in Babylon he shall die. Ezekiel 17:16. It is apparent throughout Scripture that God takes oaths and allegiances very seriously. Not only is this a warning, but it is also a comfort. Will he not take just as seriously his covenant with you and I established by the blood of Christ? God cannot violate a covenant he has made with mankind. This is good news for believers who have trusted in the redemptive act of Christ. Closing thought. So you see the ties that we form through covenants and alliances, vows, and agreements, either written, spoken, even the inner vow that was spoken by you to yourself, bind us to the limited and unfruitful functionality of the past and of those people or entities we are tied to. In the case of the inner vow, you may have bound yourself emotionally to circumstances that should be ancient history, circumstances that you cannot allow to impose upon your present and future and your future. Are you willing to allow an old covenant or alliance keep you stuck in your current state of success? Are you willing to continue to subject yourself to the terms and conditions of a contract that was ungodly and unhealthy to begin with? Your answer must be a resounding no. You must be free of these ties so that you may begin to experience the fullness and scope of what God wants to release in your life. No doubt you are beginning to recognize areas in which these types of ties are affecting your life. I am quite confident that God is speaking to you and revealing things even now. Take the time right now to journal some of what you are becoming aware of. Use the ideas below as a guide. What relationships am I aware of that I presently am engaged with that would be unequal or destructive in nature? What covenants, vows, allegiances, and alliances have I made that are keeping me from realizing my destiny and my purpose being fulfilled? Am I still yoked with past business arrangements, a church, a friend that is limiting my forward progress? Be specific, be clear, and be honest as God is leading you through this process. You are doing great. You may feel a little pressure, a little resistance, but don't give up. God is with you. He is helping you. This knowledge is empowering you to be free. Let's keep working together. Father, thank you for understanding. We know that you are bringing light to so many areas in our lives, and we welcome this challenge. We want to be free, and we want to know what it feels like to walk without limitation. Continue now, Lord, to give us the grace to be honest and the courage to address these areas. We ask this in your name. Amen. So, once again, let's talk about it.
I just thought it was very powerful when you're talking about the voice as a powerful and creative force. And your voice is powerful, and, you know, your words are binding. And a lot of people don't really see that they're spelling and putting those things out there in the universe. Islam, with that, I yield the floor.
Islam. This is what I want to say. And this is part of our new covenant that's before our actual Constitution starts. You got to pay attention. And see, that's why I really wanted to give these jewels right here to the people, so it begin to make even more sense to them what we're doing. In the new covenant, before our Constitution starts, you got to pay attention to what God is telling them in the Bible. He say, I'm going to form a new covenant with your descendants that's going to be different than the covenant that I formed with you when I brought you out of the iron oven, out of Egypt, right? So he let you know that covenant is going to be broken. Our ancestors broke the covenant. We hadn't reestablished our covenant to now. See, people gotta, they gotta get an understanding about the allegiance and alliances and really get an understanding of what this is talking about. It was broken. So what is Solomon saying in his part? He's saying, look, he says, God, look, the day that they face the land of their father and they ask for forgiveness and supplication of their transgressions, and you will hear them, you will then again walk with them. This is what we fulfilling what Solomon saying right now. That's why we got it in our before our Constitution. It's breaking it down. So with this information right here, when y'all read the new covenant, and then y'all read our Constitution, that we are reforming, that we are reestablishing our covenant with our Creator, this stuff here should line up now, so that you get it. You actually are standing for God right now on this earth. We establishing the true government of God right now in the time that it's supposed to be being established. The knowledge and awareness and all the stuff, he dumping the information for us now so that we can wake up to reestablish the kingdom. So you got to really get a grasp and understanding, and that's why, it's a few people that joined our government, and that's what they did. They walked away, and the prophet say that too. He said a lot of y'all going to get right up to the door to your freedom, and you're going to turn around and go back the other way. So not only did they turn around and go back the other way like the prophet said they would do, but guess what? They done violated a holy covenant that they made with their Creator. When they joined USAR, they said that they understood and that they knew what they was doing. But did they actually read the Constitution? Did they actually read the preamble, what we were saying when we said we pledge our lives and property to each other, and that we reestablished in this covenant with our Creator? Did they really get it when they walked away and said they was going to be Indian? Man, you got to be kidding me. You're joking, right? And I couldn't do nothing. I was taken away because I'm like, how can you walk away from the new covenant that we're establishing with our God as a nation of people? You done took this vow. You done pledged this allegiance. You done formed this alliance. And you going to walk away, huh? And they only think that they going to be all right. They got to guess again. They got to get the right understanding and try to get on their hands and knees and ask for forgiveness and come back home. Because everything they left up to go do after making this vow, they in violation of the covenant. They're going to get punished for that. It's the reason why God made the people walk 40 years in the desert. He told you, man, he can read your heart. He know who real and who ain't real. And if you ain't real, he gonna present stuff to you, and your ears gonna be wide open. And guess what you gonna do? You gonna align yourself with the wrong what? Alliances. That's what they did. They left a nation state, a government, to go become part of an Indian tribe. They went and formed an alliance with an Indian tribe. Indian tribes and international law can never be nation states. You went and aligned yourself with a nation of people, a so-called nation of people, that the federal government took land from and granted them certain land, and when the United States government feels like taking it back, you can get on the internet and look it up. They taking it from them. They're doing that because they know those people had no covenant with God. That's why they treat them the way they treat them. But they ain't going to treat you that way because they see we line up. And that's what Noah Jewelry came for, to line us back up. Not only with our God, not only with our birthright and our ancestors, but line us all the way up so that we line up properly with God, so we can reform this covenant, reestablish this covenant. Islam, I do so.
Islam, Brother President.
Islam, who's that?
This is Brother Wanamaker Bay from Louisiana, the province of Louisiana.
Yes, you have the floor.
Brother President, on that thought that you were just talking, but that's why Prophet Noble Drew Ali said that if I could only get you thinking, you would save yourselves. And I'm not sure if I'm quoting that exactly to the letter or to the T, but I know, when you present these topics the way you present them, they always get me to thinking of things that I've read over time, and I have to go back and reread because everything that you talk about, I have to get a overstanding for myself, because I found that the more I read, the better it gets for me. And it's like those little jewels that you throw out there every once in a while. When I called you that one time when we were talking about Confucius, that just, for me, was something I had to sit there and read all those subtitles. It took a while, but I gained a lot from that. And just talking to you gave me even more information to go back and watch it again. But on that point, like he said, if I could get you thinking, you could save yourselves. And like you said, they got to the door and then they walked away. So that means they thought about it for a little while, then they let it go. And I don't know why you would let it go, because, this is where it's at. And I don't know how to communicate that to anybody else. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam, thank you for sharing.
Islam, point of interest.
Islam, Brother Umar, you have the floor.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm outside, so you got to pardon self, everybody. But this is why it's very important to see how other nationalities are in covenant with their God and how they are a nation. If you look at Russia, if you look at Germany, for example, Switzerland, you have Swiss French, you have Swiss German, you have Swiss Italian. The only difference between them, now that sounds like three different things, right? The only difference is if you're on the board, is the language. So if you're Swiss German, you speak German. If you speak, Swiss French, you're French. But they're all Swiss. They're all Swiss. And so we have to really start understanding and I know I stress this point so much, but what the president says is for the most part, it should be so easy to understand, but because we don't see the world, we don't see Cyprus, we don't see these other nations, Greece. When they are going to war, they're going to war as a nation of people. No one leaves that, So keep your mind internationally to kind of understand what the president and Secretary Ross says it all the time. We are international people, which means we are literally right now a nation. Period. Done. And with that, I yield the floor.
The floor is still open for anyone else who wants to share, ask a question, make a comment.
Islam, this is Nanana.
Islam, sister, you have the floor.
Thank you. Yeah, the question that I have is for President Cannon Bay or for anyone who might be able to answer it. the question that I have is whether or not there are any, perhaps I'm not using the right term, whether or not there are any spiritual text or any other writings or texts that make reference to the covenant between God and man, or God and various nations that are older than the Bible, and if so, why aren't those texts used, if there are any, that are older than the Bible, but making the same reference to a covenant?
Islam.
Yes.
Islam. This President Cannon Bay. Okay. First thing I'm going to tell you is don't get sidetracked by the smoke and mirrors. Of course, there's other texts and stuff that's older than the Bible that will prove the covenants or whatever you want to say. You know, we get sidetracked by and see it's a lot of that out there, and I try to explain this to people. You got people out here that spend hours and hours and hours every day researching flat Earth. They trying to actually prove the Earth is flat and not round. You got people out here, they studying all kind of conspiracy theory things and all kind of different stuff, right? And this is what I'm going to tell you. All this stuff, you know, well, you know, the Bible plagiarized, and, you know, this in the pyramids, and, you know, it wasn't nobody named Jesus, and, you know, it wasn't nobody really named Abraham. They got all this stuff out here. And what they fail to realize is they missing it. See, these are people that can't stay focused. See, the whole thing is they put all this information out here like that so that you can't focus in on the main thing and the main jewels that you're supposed to be focused in on, and that's establishing your government. Because if you're not focused on establishing your government, if you're too busy trying to prove the earth is flat, which ain't going to do nothing for you as a nation of people or as an individual, so what's the reason that you even studying that mess? What's the reason you wasting hours of your time that you could be being productive working in your own state government, which is something that's going to have a direct effect on not only yourself but your children, but you wasted hours of time debating about where is this older text. The whole thing is this. The Bible is the master key to unlock the lock. We know that they took teachings and writings from other places that was older than the written Bible. Guess what? If you buy a lock set and put a lock on your door, and that lock set came with 2 keys, but it's 15 people in your family, and they go get, and so you go get 13 more keys made, do that mean the keys that they got ain't no good? Because they not the original keys? They keys still gonna open the door. We gotta get the right understanding. Don't worry about if it's older text. Don't worry about any of that. Worry about the understanding, because this is what I'm going to say. I hear people all the time, they talk, well, you know, it's older, this is older, that. Guess what? If you read the older stuff, are you going to be able to align it with what you need to align it with to come into power right now? If you read it, he knows something that ain't even as old as stuff older than the Bible. So if you can't even take the Bible and relate it to today for you to come in power, what you gonna do with something older? And the thing is not the Bible is really an extraordinary book, but it's people that don't understand what kind of book it is. You see how witches will have they spell book, and they'll go get their book. They used to have a show that come on called, it's about some witches, 3 witches. But they had a book they kept up in the attic, and they'll go to that book sometime to cast different spell charms. They'll go in the attic and get the book. They knew different spells, but some spells they didn't know. They would have to go to the book to get these spells. The Bible is a book full of spells. It is full of astrology. It is full of numerology. It is a history book. It's an astrology book. This book is, see, our people, like I say, the focus and the vision get caught up on, well, they ain't real people. They do stories plagiarized. You missing the true jewels of the book. The true jewels is, guess what? The true spells that was on the walls in Egypt and that the people had before the end is still in the book. How do you know what I'm saying is true? Just last week, we had a meeting, right? I showed y'all England. I say, look at this little bitty island right here. Look at all these countries this island had power over and that they took over. This little bitty island of people. How did they do that? They did it because they understand the divine lessons and teachings, which a lot of our people don't. Our people really need to study Psalms. You need to study Psalms. You need to read Psalms. You really need to read the Psalms and pay attention to what the Psalms is teaching you. See, the Bible maintains the law. And if you follow it, and God is saying it in the Bible, he's saying, look, diligently keep my commandments, statutes, and ordinances. See, it's people lack an understanding of the book and the law in the book of why they're not in power. Yeah, these people use the Bible to get in power, and now our people think, yeah, well, they use the Bible to get in power by teaching us about this European Jesus and this false religion of Christianity. The Bible ain't Christian. The Bible is not Christian. The Bible is a book. The same thing that they read in it, you read in it. The only difference is they have the right understanding of what they read, and you don't. That's why they're in power. Because they following the divine lessons and teachings that was laid down that God said diligently keep these commandments, statutes, and ordinances. Think about your Christian preachers. They telling you that it is no longer about the law. That it is about what? Grace. That's a lie. That's a lie. Paul telling you in the book, he said Jesus can't come 430 years later and do away with a contract that God made with Abraham. Listen to what he said. A contract God made with Abraham, that is a covenant. That is a vow. That is an agreement. That is an alliance. You're missing it. The book is teaching you the jewels. So you gotta begin to understand the book, and God is telling you right in the book, I'm gonna take a nation with no understanding to make you jealous. The nation with no understanding is European. Look at they kill animals, kill lions and elephants and stuff for fun. They pollute the earth, they pollute the water, the air. They the people with no understanding. They kill God's people at will. Not understanding that, hey, it's gonna come back. It's gonna come back. It may not affect you, but it's gonna affect your children. It's gonna come back. This universal law. They don't understand it. They the people who don't understand it that he's talking about. So, again, what lines us up is learning the law. The Bible tells you in the beginning was God. There was God. And the Word was with God. We the Word. Our people is the Word. We the first ones that God taught the law. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, which is the universal principle of divine law. Okay? So we the Word because we the ones, we the original people who he taught that to. So it's embedded in our fabric and in our heart to maintain the law. The problem that our people have right now is, and the Europeans knew it. How they know? Because in the Bible, Paul is telling them. It's because of their transgression that we found what? Salvation. The European race found salvation because our people transgress against the law, and the transgression against the law is to what? Sin. Our people living in sin. Know what you understand it? You living in great, it's my people that brought great sin on the earth. It's our people living in sin. So we got to get the right understanding. This is the time for us to get the right understanding according to the book, and you know how to read it. It's telling you clear as day. Paul said, He said when we reach our fullness, he's going to remove the stupor off his people. Ain't we waking up? Ain't we learning the law again? It's the reason why they tell you only attorneys can practice law. They don't want you to study the law because they know when you study the law, you come back into power. Because you're the true lawgiver. And once you start restudying law again, then you're going to behold great things like you say in the Bible. You're going to behold great things from thy law. You see what I'm saying? So without the law, we lost. It's not an overstanding of math and science. And the greatest overstanding is law. We cannot enforce math. We cannot enforce science. We cannot enforce chemistry. But we can enforce the law when we know it. And that's the reason, the main reason they tell our people what? Ignorance of the law is no excuse. It's no excuse for us as a nation of people because we the word of God. We the ones that brought the law to the world. It's us. Think about it. They was in the Dark Ages, the medieval ages. When we went to Europe, they couldn't read or write. You came there and did what? Both the word. The word was what? Light. The word did what? It killed chaos. It cleaned them up and taught them to be a good moral people with moral values, principles, and standards. Islam, I yield the floor.
Brother Kakoyan, you have the floor.
Yes, I just want to give a personal testimony. I grew up in the Baptist church and was exposed to the Bible, from the beginning of my life, but I never got a true connection and understanding with God until I found the very ancient teachings of Ma'at and, started to delve into the Medunatur and, found the Husia and, delved a little bit into Asara Set and their society's teachings. And that brought me to the science of what is talked about in the Bible, and I truly understand what the Bible is trying to say, but for me, it didn't come across. But with Ma'at, it was so old and so simple, really easy for me to understand. The 42 principles tell exactly what God wants me personally to do in his world. And with that, I live a very powerful life and acknowledged by what I say, manifest what I believe, makes my world. So before coming to Ma'at, which is the oldest teachings of spirituality I've been able to find on this planet, now I have a deep understanding and connection with God, which I did not have with the King James version of the Bible. That's just my personal experience. I yield the floor.
Islam, thank you, brother.
Islam, one answer.
Islam.
How long had you been studying Ma'at?
Guess it's been probably about 30 years. I'm 63.
So 63?
Well, I'm 63. I've been studying it for about 30 years.
Okay. When did you become a Moorish American?
Well, 4 months ago.
Okay. Now I want you to listen to me close. So the lessons of Ma'at truly didn't teach you what you really needed. You see what I'm saying? And the reason why it didn't truly teach you what you needed, because the holy covenant is for us to honor our mother and our father. And I never read. I only read the 42 principles of life. But the thing of it is if it did not give you the understanding of honoring your ancestors to the point that you, and I'm going to say it like Noble Ali said, you got to first have a nationality before you can have a God. Real simple. So for 30 years you studied Mayat, but still had no nationality. But still, you still did not have a nationality. So therefore, those teachings, as old as they are, may have helped you and still did not give you right now today what you needed to come from up under this European oppression that you up under. And Islam, I yield slow.
But yeah, I am now more powerful with my beliefs now that I understand nationality and the law of having a nation. It protects me more against, like I say, local government, local police. And I do feel honored now for that. I yield the floor.
I just had a point of interest from what Brother Kukulian just said.
Yes, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say that I don't think that all of these different texts and spiritual teachings are necessarily in conflict with each other, but I do see that there is a place for all of them. And what I'm growing to understand is that the place and the use of using the Bible in terms of the law and establishing nationality is not something that we find in other texts or in other spiritual teachings and practices. But as Brother Kukulian said, he was able to gain a piece from the teachings of Ma'at that was beneficial to him, but it did not bring him to the point of establishing nationality and truly understanding the law and having a solid foundation for the law. I don't see that as being a conflict. I simply see that as being some of the steps that many of us go through in our process of finding our way back home. So I personally feel that and know that there is a place for the Bible, and that I, as well as the rest of us, must understand its proper use and to use it in the proper way. But that the other teachings and the other texts out there don't have to necessarily be in conflict with that. And I yield the floor.
Islam. Okay, first I'm going to say this. I never said that it conflicted. That's not what I said. I simply was trying to show the importance to understand why the Bible is so important. Because though we may read the older text, just like I said when I first answered Nanana when you first spoke, before Kukulian spoke, that certain things that the Bible gonna line you up with. This, see, we gotta understand this. If we say no, would you Ali a prophet? We gotta pay attention to our prophet. Our prophet say don't throw the Bible away because I'm gonna use it to condemn the government. See, the Bible is the master key to the lock. So and when he said that he read the older text, I said this. I say, though those older texts and scripts that he read may have helped him in life as far as living, they still didn't line them all the way back up with God. Because in order to line back up with God, you must honor your ancestors. You must honor your lineage. And he did not draw that from the older text that he read. So I didn't say that it was in conflict. I don't never want nobody to think that. We, being more, study all script. All knowledge is knowledge. All information is information. We try to acquire all of it. But in us acquiring knowledge, we must also acquire an understanding of the knowledge and information that we're taking in. I could get everybody on this call a blueprint to a submarine, you still won't be able to build it. You still won't be able to build it. And you got the blueprint. Some people, I can get them a blueprint to a house, and they still won't be able to build a house. You still must acquire the knowledge and the understanding of what you're reading. If you're reading it, yeah, because these lessons and teachings are divine, it's going to open you up to a certain understanding of self to a certain degree. But until you get the actual understanding of the information you're taking in, prime example, like I think the last call we had, I said it. I even right now, I could talk to different Christians right now and tell them this stuff in the Bible that they don't even know in the Bible. And they done read it 9 million times. And we're arguing down that it ain't there until I show it to them that it's in there. And then you should just see they face, how they look. They can't believe it. Because the book and the veil that God put over the book, he's only revealing certain things to certain individuals as he wakes us up. Certain things are being revealed from the book. So, I'm going to say this. We, in Ezra, right, 9 and 10, it's talking about all God's people coming back, right? And they putting away they foreign wives and all this, right? So they coming back and the people is asking them, who are you? And they telling them who their fathers were, who their forefathers were, and da-da-da, right? And so they realigning them with their tribes, being part of the 12 tribes of Israel. They lining them up with their tribes. So this one guy come. This guy married and took on his wife's family's name. And he gave that name. And it said that they banished him and did not allow him to worship God, because when they went to the family record of the name he gave, they could not find it. It didn't line up. Therefore, he was in the book it said they basically they denied him from the priesthood. They shut him out. So we got to understand this book is giving you jewels about your life that, hey, you got to align with your ancestors. You got to line back up with your people. You cannot follow the customs and traditions of foreigners and think that these people going to respect you. They're not. Noble Deuteronomy said it. They honor the principles of their forefathers. And so guess what? When they see you honoring the principle of your forefathers and your ancestors, they don't honor and respect you. They don't know what no African-American going to do. They history and their ancestors, as far as they know, it go back just to slavery. And their culture and tradition is hip-hop and gang-banging, and they don't know what you going to do if you come into power and you're not honoring your ancestors. But when you show them you honoring your ancestors and you walk in the principles and standards of your ancestors, they know you came to Europe and educated the entire European race. They know that. They know you taught them how to take a bath, how to use a fork and a spoon, gave them the number 0 through 9. They know all that. It's the ones now that they worried about that's not lined up with their ancestors. So the whole key, when we speak of family being our race, not the individual in the household with us, when our family line back up with our forefathers, we're not going to have no more problems in this society, period. And like the book is saying, I'm going to make them all bow at your feet. How do you think he's going to make all the races and all the different nations of people on the earth bow at your feet? Because they can find out who you really are. This is what I'm going to tell y'all. protection which the government affords him. Civil rights is a privilege. Civil rights is a protection that the government affords to Negro, colored, black, and African American. Okay? There's only two forms of allegiance. One is permanent and perpetual. The other one is local and temporary. Okay? European people have a permanent and perpetual allegiance. They can never come from under the Queen of England, ever, unless she allows them to. She has to allow them to. If you're born under a crown country, your allegiance is permanent and perpetual. Our allegiance is local and temporary. We have a local and temporary allegiance being here in the United States, being born rather within the jurisdiction of the United States, makes our allegiance a local allegiance, but our allegiance is also a temporary allegiance because we are the native-born citizens here. Okay? So now, it's saying which is due by a naturalized citizen. Okay? The naturalized citizen we know is the Negro, colored, black, and African American. They're saying it has never been decided whether a citizen can, by expatriation, divest himself absolutely of that character. Ain't no Negro, colored, black, or African American even thought about expatriation. That's why it has never been decided whether a citizen can, by expatriation, divest himself absolutely of that character. So now, this part. Infants cannot assume allegiance although they enlist in the Army of the United States. Our people fought in the Civil War. They still was considered to be minors in law. They was minors. And do you see what it says? Infants cannot assume allegiance, although they enlist in the Army of the United States. That is talking about Negroes and black people. It seems, however, that he cannot renounce his allegiance to the United States without the permission of the government to be declared by law. Now, I'm going to break this down. But for commercial purposes, he may acquire the rights of a citizen of another country. Each state in this country is considered to be its own country. Get what this is saying now. It's saying, it seems, however, that he cannot renounce his allegiance to the United States without the permission of the government to be declared by law. But for commercial purposes, he may acquire the rights of a citizen of another country, and the place of his domicile determines the character of a party as to trade. The 14th Amendment said what? Anyone born or naturalized here is a citizen of the United States and of the state in which he resides. He resides. That's his, where he resides will be his domicile. Okay? For commercial purposes. Look, for commercial purposes, they dealing in commerce. They saying that for commercial purposes, he may acquire the rights of a citizen of another country. The 14th Amendment conferred the nationality of a state on the Negro, colored, black, and African American people. It conferred the nationality of a state on them. Why did they confer the nationality of a state on them? For commercial purposes. For commercial purposes. He acquired, and in return, the states agreed with the United States government that they would do what? Give you the right treat you with the same rights as what? Their citizens under their state constitution, right? That's the other part of the 14th Amendment. They have to treat you the same way they treat their citizens under their state constitution. Okay. Local allegiance is that which is due from an alien while resident in the United States for the protection which the government affords them. Again, local allegiance. We have a local and temporary allegiance. Our allegiance is local while we under the jurisdiction of the United States. Your allegiance is local. And this, pay attention, is that which is due from an alien while resident in the United States. You are a citizen of the United States and the state in which you reside. You have to be residing to be a resident. You have to reside in order to be a resident. So that's where this local allegiance comes in effect. And when we go to Aliens and Immigration Act, it breaks down to you about the temporary, the permanent allegiance. It lets you know that that permanent allegiance is on. It's really not permanent. It's just temporary. It's really a temporary allegiance. So I just wanted to break that down to y'all to show y'all. It's right here. And look how slick they are with it. They don't say Negroes, colored blacks, and African Americans were infants and cannot assume allegiance. They just come right in and say infants cannot assume allegiance, although they enlist in the Army of the United States. You see how they put stuff that if you don't have an understanding of other things, this right here, when you read it, it really ain't gonna add up for you. And our knowledge and understanding of emancipation. Emancipation is the freeing of a minor from his master. That's what emancipation means, the freeing of a minor from his master. And then you will hear, when they usually talk about emancipation, you will hear them say something about manumission. Manumission means on a short leash, by a short hand. They only partially freed you. You're not totally free. The Emancipation Proclamation didn't totally free you. That's why he's saying in the document, the day that these people seek their actual freedom. Abraham Lincoln knew it. See, so a lot of people try to act like Abraham Lincoln condoned slavery, and the only reason he did it was because of economic conditions of the United States for economic purposes. That had something to do with it too, but don't take away from the man's moral character and value that he understood that you were not to be slaves. And he did what he could do dealing with being in the den of vipers. He had to act like he was one of the snakes too. Yeah, he made a speech saying, yeah, you know, if I had to choose this and that, you know, the white race, this and that. Yeah, he got to play the game. He's not stupid. In order to get anything done for you, he got to act like he's part of them. He wasn't stupid. But when you read how he wrote it in the Emancipation Proclamation, it lets you know that the man had a sincere heart. Because he didn't have to put in there the day that these people seek their actual, freedom. He didn't have to put that in there. So that lets you know that he really, what he did was left a jewel for you to wake up to when you read that Emancipation Proclamation, which he knew you was going to read it because this is what's taught in history. The Emancipation Proclamation set the slaves free. It set the slaves free. Okay, yes, it did. But he also put in there the day that they rebel against the United States. Why would he say the day they rebel against the United States when right here is telling you that we did what? Although they enlist in the Army of the United States. Why would he be talking about the day we rebel against the United States when right here is telling you that we enlisted in the Army of the United States, help the United States do what? Fight the Southerners. Why would we then be rebelling against the United States? Because you're going to be coming to the knowledge and understanding that guess what? You're not a United States citizen, nor have you ever been a United States citizen. So we got to get the correct understanding and do exactly what our prophet instructed us. We talked about the laws of Mayat and the teachings of Mayat, and we talked about the Dead Sea Scrolls. Do what your prophet told you. He says study everything. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Although the prophet tells us to study everything, the birds, the bees, the trees, everything, I'm going to tell you this. This part is from Canon Day. You must be very discretionary with what you're learning. Because everything that you're learning is not going to aid and assist us in the coming into power. So, the things you should be studying and learning, number one is law. Number two is history. Number three, I take that back. Number one is thyself, like the prophet said. Learn thyself. Number two is the law. Number three is history. That's what you need to study. And you don't need to get caught up in the time machine trapped back in history because you can't go back to yesterday and change a damn thing. The only thing we got power to control is today and tomorrow. That's it. That's it. So we got to work in the now. We out of the age of belief. Our beliefs don't mean diddly squat. It's what we know. Man must be what he knows. The prophet teaches us this. Man must be what he knows. So when you talking to people and they try to convince you of something about that you can proclaim your nationality in the temple, man, you know what they know not. You know what they know not. You know what you know. They the one lacking in knowledge and understanding that if you try to explain to them that the temple cannot confer nationality and they ain't trying to hear you, they the ones that's what? Suffering from a lack of knowledge. They the ones that he's talking about what? Will be destroyed for what? The lack of knowledge. Knowledge is power. But we got to educate ourselves in the right arenas. And the arena that all of us should be educating ourselves to is the arena that we have not been educating ourselves to in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, which is the study of government and civics. All the rest of the stuff, we need to put that on the back burner. That's on the side. We need anything extra that we study and learn, that's in our downtime. Our main focus of study and main course of study is government, civics, law. That's our main focus. There is no other focus for us. In us learning law, we learn how to administrate. Now, everybody knows, you will hear him say it in a minute, there ain't been no judges here since 1789. It ain't nothing but administrators. When you going to start administrating and learning how to administrate? So that's all I'm going to say. I yield the floor. Islam.
All right. Well, like I was saying, it's been wonderful. Thank you all for your participation. Thank you, Canon Babe, for the topic and all the detailed research that you've done in providing the perspective and view and truth that you have on covenants, vows, allegiances, and alliances. It lets us know that, it is most important. And I think it hasn't made an impression upon me because the last few months, maybe longer, I've been talking to people. I really, really want to make sure that in terms of joining this government, they understand that there's a covenant that we're taking. They understand that there's a relationship that we have with each other. And that, breaking that covenant is a really big deal. So it's on them. Nonetheless, I want everyone to have a wonderful rest of the evening. May Allah always be with you. And peace and love to you all. Thank you very much.
Islam.
When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signed This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. So we've come to cash this check, a check that will give us upon demand the riches of freedom and the security of justice.